Hello and welcome back. It's Laura at Hyperstamper. I am really excited about this journal that I just finished. This is a truly Victorian themed album, and I'll tell you why. I used a vintage book as the base because I really wanted a large book to fit all the plates that I have, and these are actual Victorian era plates. I used some antique lace and vintage crochet here, and just some little bits of trim and ribbon, some antique lace here, chantilly lace down the side. And I'm going to show you the inside. Again, everything in here, everything is authentic, antique ephemera, and it is all Victorian themed. Now, if you're wondering, Victorian era is 1837 to 1901, even up to 1906. And then the Edwardian era is from 1901 about to 1910. It was a short era. Victorian is from Queen Victoria, and the Edwardian era is after King Edward. So this is a Victorian journal. So all of these plates are from or about that period, mostly late 1800s in here. So let me show you. I'm very excited. So this one here came from this book here. It is the 1906 Girls Own. So that falls in the Victorian era and the Edwardian area, but a lot of them are Victorian images. So let me show you this cover here. Miss Margaret Dickey from a painting by her father, and it is an original, and it is stunning. And I just think it depicts the Victorian era perfectly. So inside here, this is a 1900s cabinet card photograph original. It was damaged when I received it, but I just think that adds to it. And it's this family with a lot of children, but you can see the Victorian costume, the little boys who could only wear shorts, they couldn't wear pants until they were older. It's just awesome. It's so awesome. So that is a real treasure. And this one here, again, a beautiful original Victoriana plate here. And then here, this is a Victorian, it's actually an Edwardian era because I believe it is 1912, but it's using a Victorian image. So I just love that. And that's original, of course. We've got some vintage chantilly lace up here. A little floral tissue flower I made there. This isn't Victorian, but I did need a pop of color in here because everything was so monotone, which I love, but I did want a little pop of color. So this is from 1925, just past the Edwardian and pre-World War II era. And then look at this beautiful piece of antique crochet here. It's beautiful. It's got this applique here and embroidery. I love it. This is a early Victorian era page here. It's a 1925 piece here. A little bit of art there in color. And then this here is from a vintage doll book, which this book is here. And I found a page that had Queen Victoria on it. So I thought that was perfect. And this here is from 1899, so also Victoriana. And it is, it's called The Goat Carriage, Driving in the Park. So these little goats pulling the carriage. And that is for a stereoscope, which was sort of like the first version of a View, you know, those Viewmasters. Yeah, so that's a really rare piece here. And again, that is from 1899, so that's Victorian. And then this page here, I loved because very, very colorful, and it's got these little Victorian maidens here. This here is a plate. It is also from the early 1900s, depicting of the Victorian era as well. It's about 120 years old, that plate. And it's in a 1955 pocket. And this here is actually a vintage book about Victorian furniture, 1855. Isn't that cool? And then down here, this is a children's book page about a woman in the Victorian era. Now look at this here. This is so cool. And this came from I want to say this was the 1915 book, but it had all the costumes of the last, what they said, 100 years. So the Victorian era starts about here. And then we go through right up until 1904, which was the end of the Victorian era. Isn't that fantastic? And that's original as well. And I just put a little fun cluster up there. And again, this is one of those vintage pieces, and that's Queen Victoria there. And some more Victorian things here. Victorian lettering. This here came from an 1884 book, so also the Victorian era. And a little poem about Grandmama. Even the wallpaper looks Victorian in it, because it is. This is the plate that I had a hard time giving up because I love it. It looks like sisters or friends, and it says it's called Footsteps. This plate, it's a very beautiful plate. You can tell it was on a it was actually on a steel block because the lines cross in the printing. Isn't that beautiful? And that is from the 1901. Here is a beautiful feather, and I did that because you will see a lot of feathery plumes in the Victorian hats, and they wrote with plumed pens, so I just thought that was fun to put in there. Big giant feather. This is another Victorian doll here. And then in this pocket here, I've put this wonderful plate from the, I think this book is from 1900 exactly. And of course, it's got this beautiful Victorian ball going on here, and it's just fantastic. I love it. This page here is from 1859, so also from the Victorian era, and it's a history page on England and Henry VIII back there. And then this is also Victorian. It's from 1885 from a book, I believe it was called Rosamond. And then this is another one of these wonderful Victorian furniture pages. Another one here, Girl's Own, and this is from 1906, and that is also depicting a historic time there. Whoopsie. And this is another wonderful little Victorian page here, Victorian girl. And look at this one here. This is also from Victorian era, 1895. But look at this, all these wonderful advertisements. Look at this sarsaparilla. Oh my God, isn't this wonderful? So yeah, a real beautiful piece of Victorian. Sorry, I don't want to rip it because it's already brittle. But I think somebody will have an awful lot of fun with that one. I'll put that back in properly. And then over here, I just loved this because it is a Victorian decor piece. And then got this Victorian lady and gentleman here from a antique book. This here is an original ledger piece. I should have probably just digitized this. I just can't get into that. But it's from 1889, so also Victorian era. Look, it's beautiful. I love it so much. And this also is from the 1800s, late 1800s, this plate here. And on the back of it, I put this plate here from 1906. Another beautiful Victorian woman here. This is from the early 1900s here, little girl, Victorian girl in the fields. And I turned that into a pocket on top of this 1850s history page. And of course, another original plate here. Look at that beautiful foxing along the edges. Oh, I just love it so much. This was a really, really special book for me. I will not be able to do another one anytime soon, but I will be able to do an Edwardian book. But not right away because this was really hard to make this one. Here's another plate, a Victorian plate, and another one here, the spinning here. And then I put in some of my pressed flowers because actually the leaf fell out of an antique book. The flowers I pressed. This is very special here, and so is this one. This is also from the early 1900s, but it's the Queen Maud of Norway, and that picture's taken in the Victorian era. Look at the waist on her. It's like this big. Scary. And this is another plate from Girl's Own 1906. Look at how beautiful that Victorian image is, and her name is Nancy, and that is original. You could pop that out and put it on a frame if you wanted. Just be very gentle with it. October 17th, 1895 again. So we've got more wonderful, fun advertisements here. Look at this costume on this beautiful woman. So another Victorian piece there. Can you believe it's the real Victorian ephemera? Wow. Punch and Judy, which is from the Victorian ages, and another Victoriana here. There's a statue of Queen Victoria, 1886. And then lots of blank pages for you to add your own things or journal on the back. So I hope you love it as much as I loved making it. It's going in my Etsy shop now, hyperstamper.etsy.com. And don't forget to subscribe. Bye for now.